Now, one reason for drawing an eye might just be because one day you want to draw a face and you want to be able to draw eyes as a part of the face. But another really good reason why I chose to make this video today is because I reckon it's just a really great thing to sit and doodle on. It's like kind of like drawing a target. You've got a center that you can focus on, and there's some things that have to be very, very smooth and some things that have to be really quite sharp, and then it hones your skills as well. So for this exercise, you're just really going to need a pencil. I'm assuming you've probably just got an HB pencil. Sharpener is really handy, or something you can sharpen it with. Some tissue paper is also going to be used. Now, to begin with, we want to draw the eye. So hang on, I have to pan back a little bit. Whoa. Okay, so we want to draw the eye. We know that it's going to be a kind of ovally shape, and I want to sort of think of a shape about twice as long as it is high. Now, I've drawn a really, really faint line here, and you basically want to end up with no lines at all, virtually, but I'm kind of trying to think of where the corner is going to go, and I like to remember that the outside corner is going to be just a tiny little bit higher and on the outside and lower on the inside. So I'm just kind of trying to set that up now. Now, if you've got a reference photo, and I'd recommend that you use one, you know, you might even just take a photo of your own eye, then that'll give you a sense of the shape of the overall shape of the eye. And you know, it's worthwhile remembering that all eyes are not the same shape, but they're basically sort of an oval shape. Some things are quite consistent, like the iris, when the person's relaxed and has a normal facial expression, not surprised, or you know, something like that, they're normally the eyelids relaxed enough to just go across the top of that iris. If you can see that very clearly. And so we basically want to start off a few basic shapes, like so. So it doesn't matter if you make a lot of fuzzy marks. In fact, I recommend that the marks are pretty fuzzy at the beginning, and that you even smudge them a little bit on purpose. I'm just using a bit of tissue paper because we don't really want to build up too many strong lines at the beginning, and we want to just sort of build it up more tonally than anything else. And now, if you're drawing someone's eye in particular, you know, you want to think about the different unique angles that they have in their eye. You know, where's the peak and where's the bottom. Sometimes it's over here or over there or over here or over there, where it's the lowest or highest bit. And for different people, it's different. That's what gives them their unique character. Not just that, but all the different parts of their eye. Now, or face. So I'm kind of using the side or the flat part of my pencil. Yep. So as you go, you might find that you rub some lines out when they're not quite what you need, and you might smudge some lines that are vaguely what you need. In this case, if we're going for some kind of realistic sort of effect, it's good not to build up too much dark lines or anything too hard too fast. So it's really okay if your initial drawings are a bit fuzzy and a bit vague in the beginning. Just a few things to remember. When you are drawing it, you've got the line where the skin meets the eyeball itself, but also you're going to need to leave a little bit of a lip poking out from that. The top part of the bottom eyelid. What I mean is, not that one, like this. So this is the bottom eyelid, and this is where the light hits it. There's got a lip. The top eyelid also has got light catching it. This is from the side, obviously, and there's a bit of a shadow underneath. And then you've got the iris. The light's catching in some parts in there, and then the pupil. There's going to be no light on there, and there's a reflected light. You can see the eyeball itself is just like the ball that we drew before when we just drew a sphere. So when you've done this, you've got the lower corner, the inside corner is a little bit lower than the outside corner, just a little bit. you've got the shape generally right, you've left a little bit of a lip on top of the bottom eyelid, then you're basically good to start shading. So you might want to do that. Pause the video till you catch up, and then you can start again the next part of the video, and we'll do the next step. Okay, so assuming you've done that, I'm going to go on. The next bit is basically just blocking in the tones. So inside the eyeball, I've left actual areas where there's going to be a reflection, so I have to leave that white. Other bits where it's the pupil, I'm going to make that as black as I can. The whole iris, I'm going to start out by making that an overall sort of light, or just a mid-tone, particularly dark, not particularly light. You need to remember that the only thing that's white is going to be reflections. Even the white of the eyeball itself is going to have some shading on it. So just do that a bit lighter than what you can see it if you've got reference material, some reference material. Just do it a little bit lighter because it's hard to go. Well, it's just easier to gradually build it up darker. Think of this drawing in terms of layers of shading and detail, finding and losing. So you want to sort of just block that in. So when you do that, then pause the video until you catch up. A shadow underneath the lip of the top eyelid. Cast down on top of the eyeball. So it goes right across like a band across the top of the eyeball. There's shadows in the corners. And sometimes the shadow is pretty deep. But don't go too dark too fast. Just like build it up in layers. A nice middle tone. The iris. You can change directions so it doesn't get too streaky. And it's light on the top of the bottom eyelid. But then, so you need to leave a little bit of light on the top of that bottom eyelid there. And then there's a bit of shadow on the other side of it. You go over the lip of the eyelid and you start to get a shadow. So see if you can catch up with that. Maybe pause the video till you catch up. Okay, so these are the important shadows. This one that's on the other side of the lip, and on the inside of the lip that's on the eyeball, and right in the corner, the outside of the eye there. This one here that sort of gives a roundness to the eyeball where it meets the tear duct, which is a separate sort of bit of skin that comes out here. The fold of the top of the eyelid. Notice I'm still not drawing any real strong lines, just kind of shades. Now at this stage you probably want to use a bit of tissue paper, starting with the lights and then smudging back into the darks. Be careful not to go over the whites that you need for highlights. But don't be afraid to sort of get the white of the eye a little bit dirty, like a little bit smudgy in there. Keep it basically white, but very sort of light grey kind of white. You want a pure white in the reflections. That's the only place you want a pure white. So having a lot of almost white is actually pretty cool. Works really well for this subject matter. And a lot of fuzzy lines works really well too. Helps to give the things form without being too strong an outline. So once you've done that once, you can sort of go back again and redefine some of the edges. I don't mean draw lines, I just mean maybe work on the contrast, where you see a bit of contrast has been lost. I've simplified the reflections in this eye just now, just because I was looking at a reference photo, but I want to make it more generally understandable and maybe a bit more simple. The radial pattern of the eye sort of has like a starbursty kind of shape on the inside of it, and then lots of little blobs radiating out and sort of starting at the outside of the iris. But you don't want to make the outside of the iris as black as the pupil, so you can make it gradually build up to some darks and go in with sort of random blobs. If you've got a source photo that you look at, that's going to help a lot, just to get some inspirations. You don't have to slavishly copy it or anything, but just get the idea. I've got a bunch of triangles sort of poking in from the side and a few dots and dashes and lines here and there. And I suppose one of the tricks to that is, like, once you put in a bit of detail, like so, you can also come back and sort of cover it with another layer of tone and kind of blend it in that way. So it gives it a sense of like layers. If you then come back and smudge into it, you'll find that it unifies it even more. Just keep that nice shadow underneath the top eyelid and you'll get that sense of that overhanging the eyeball as well. And this shadow here underneath the eyeball is also really important. Underneath the white of the eyeball, I mean, so that it runs along there. So you'll notice at this stage it's already like not too bad. You're sort of starting to play that game of pushing and pulling out a few little details with highlights, or with your pencil making some dark marks, and then kind of smudging it back in with the tissue paper. I'm using not an eraser actually, but a piece of blue tack, which I kind of squeeze into points and lets me get a bit of details. So I'm just going to keep on pulling out little highlights and drawing in little shadows again to try and get some contrast here and there. So get some contrast where I need it or where I've lost it in the smudging process. Get a bit more details, a bit more contrast. And then again, back to the same. You can see it's starting to pop out a little bit already now. So each time you go through this process, you lose a bit, but you gain a bit of consistency as well, a bit of subtlety. Yeah. Smudging with a bit of tissue paper is a good way to get those sharp little bits of slithers of shadow, and then just gently smudge back over there. You don't want to lose it completely, but you don't want it to poke out like too much either. So yeah, it gets it subtle. So this is the point where things start to look not too bad, not too unclear, and you want to just start to maybe in some parts use the tip of the pencil, try and get some details. The eyelashes, you don't want to probably draw each eyelash too many times, noticing that they sort of tend to radiate out from the eye in a curvy sort of a way. Some of them can come down and back up. Some of them cross over each other, but they're not right in the eye. They're away on the edge of the eyelid here, starting on the edge of the eyelid, not right in this, right on the eye. But that's why you've got this eyelid lip here. Kind of helps to make a short mark and then follow that same mark and then lengthen it. Short and then lengthen. There's less eyelashes on the bottom eyelid. Yeah, so that's basically the process, just defining things with your pencil, smudging it with your tissue paper, you know, picking out the highlights again, maybe with a bit of blue tack or something, even just tapping it or picking out little, you know, making little points and picking out the pieces, and eventually it'll come up. Just trust the process and it'll work out. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson today, and hopefully see you next week. Thanks, bye.